Hello, and welcome to another episode of Keylingo Trend Talks. My name is Frederick Marx, and I am going to be your host for the next 45 minutes or so. We've got a great episode planned for you today. So if this is your first time joining us, or if you've been to other Keylingo Trend Talks, we welcome you and we ask you to participate throughout the event when we ask you to do little things, or if you just want to leave us a comment here, we'd love to hear from you. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen that we have got a QR code. We love to hear from people where you're from in the world, and we're going to present a map at the end. So please scan that QR code while I'm speaking here, and before we get the guests on screen, and we'll present that map, and we want to give you plenty of time to do that. So we have got a great episode planned for you today. Once again, this is Keylingo Trend Talks. And today we're going to be talking about mastering multilingual virtual interpretation. If you're from the industry or you're familiar with this type of interpretation, it's often called VRI, or video remote interpretation. And it's used in countless use cases: commercial use cases, legal use cases, healthcare, education is a big one. And we get lots of questions about these types of events because they do require certain technical capabilities. We have situations where people are asking last minute questions, or questions during the event, or having different issues trying to connect. And we just wanted to provide you with this Keylingo Trend Talk, where we're bringing in some experts to help you navigate virtual remote interpretation. And so that's what our Trend Talk is going to be about today. And we have brought two amazing experts to join us today. The first one, her name is Evangelina Ibañez, and she is an English-Spanish translator, and interpreter from Argentina. And we have at Keylingo been working with her for quite a while, and we always get amazing feedback on her work. She's an incredible professional. She's curious and adaptable. She loves challenge and making sure every word lands with the right meaning, whether it's in a conference room, a live event, or on the page. She brings warmth, clarity, and a people-first approach to every project she takes on. And you're going to have an opportunity to connect with her apart from this live event as we present her LinkedIn profile, or different ways that you might be able to connect with her. Our second guest today is Martina Ramello, and she is a teammate of mine at Keylingo, and she's been here going on 5 years. She is a trained English-Spanish translator herself. She initially started as the interpreting coordinator, and as her skills evolved, and we just noticed that she was an incredible teammate and such a hard worker, and everybody loves interacting with her. She was promoted to the interpreting manager and also a translation relationship manager. And she manages services for Keylingo, such as OPI, which is an acronym for over the phone interpretation, VRI, as we just discussed, and OSI, which is an acronym that stands for on-site interpreting. So she handles all of that for Keylingo, and you're also going to have an opportunity to connect with her. So I hope you have had an opportunity to scan that QR code and tell us where you're from in the world. And I want to set some expectations for today's live event before I bring our amazing guests on the screen. Today, you can expect to learn exactly how to run a seamless multilingual Zoom meeting. And in addition to that, you're going to get a behind the scenes look from our experts. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and bring our guests on screen. Let's see if our amazing production team can do that. Welcome, Evangelina, and welcome, Martina. How are you today?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great to see you.
Good.
Hi,
See you
Fred.
too.
Nice to join you today. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to be with you both. And I personally am looking forward to today's live event because I know these things are going on at Keylingo, but I never get to be part of them or see what's going on behind the scenes. So I'm excited to learn something new as well today. It's 11 a.m. here in Atlanta, where I'm calling in from. I know both of you are in Argentina. I think it's around let's see, 5 p.m. CET. So people might be joining us from close to dinner time or just closing work in Europe. So we're excited to have them. And let's see, is this the map? Yes. So we've got we those blue dots you can
Okay.
see. All right, I had to tune in to really look closely because I know we didn't have people from all of those places. But yeah, you can see
Wow.
Argentina, looks like Brazil, different parts of the US, different parts of Africa and Europe. So we really have a global audience today. So let's go ahead and dive into the content because we know people are busy. We want to give you something practical, something that you can learn from, and then be able to get back to work or get on with whatever it is you're going to do this evening. So let's start today with an interpreting or an interpretation pop quiz. And I think that we've got a few questions, and we'd like people to throw answers into the chat. So let's debunk some common misconceptions about virtual interpretations services and test your knowledge. Let's go. Okay, question one, true or false? Professional interpreters are required to interpret everything that is said without adding, omitting, or changing the meaning. Of course, our guests know the answer to this, but once we get some answers, we'll throw the answer up on the screen. Or maybe we just dive into the answer. Okay, Evangelina, why
Yeah.
don't you talk through this one?
Sure. Well, it's true, but also it's not exactly as that. As sometimes depending on the topic, it could be a little bit more difficult to account for absolutely everything that has been said. Like a nutshell of the main idea usually works very well. But as much as we possibly can, we have to do as it states right in there. So that is true. That is true.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
right, let's move on. Question two. True or false? Interpreters can hear each other during virtual interpretation sessions. Okay, let's see if anybody else can throw an answer up before we reveal the answer. To give them a few seconds here. I've done a few of these events where you have interpreters in the booth, not actually been an interpreter, but witnessed them, and also virtual ones. So this will be interesting, the answer. All right, let's go ahead. Let's throw the answer and let Evangelina talk through this one as well.
Yes. Should I?
Yeah, go ahead, Evangelina.
Okay. Yes. In fact, there's this idea even for the audience in general. See how you have like the main room where the meeting is happening, and then when they all of a sudden enable interpreting, people in the main room usually thinks that they can no longer be heard,
Mm,
when in fact the only difference with interpretation is that you won't be able to hear the interpretation unless you enable the function, and everything that happens in interpretation happens like in separate chambers. So absolutely by no means will we be overlapping with other interpreters and other languages unless we by mistake go ahead and choose their channels. Except that we are all in like separate channels ourselves and separate from the audience in that sense.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think we have two more questions, and I'm going to let Martina ask these next two. You go ahead and lead this next part, Martina.
Okay, so the third one that I had, the true or false, is using a bilingual teacher as an interpreter can create bias or conflicts of interest during parent-teacher meetings. Oh,
Well, go
yes,
ahead.
yes, of course.
Now
Eva,
we
be
have
my
to give
guest.
time for people to respond, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this one is
Before,
pretty interesting. I'd like to know what the audience says.
okay, let's give them time.
Well, I think we should go ahead in the interest of time. Why don't we just move
Okay.
forward?
Okay,
Well, using a bilingual teacher or a bilingual student, for that matter, could create conflict of interest in the sense that the bias mostly, or but it's biased. Usually, when you're not trained, usually you do not know what we spoke about in question one. That you have to be as faithful as possible to the source text. Usually, people who are not trained do not know that. And so they will give you a summarized account of whatever they found interesting as opposed to the whole picture. And so you're depriving the parents, in this case, from drawing their own conclusions from what they heard. Usually that would be one of the things. And also, maybe even what if there's information missing, or there's this sensitive information that needs to be talked about before these meetings. So yes, it could be an issue potentially. Yes.
definitely agree. Yes, it's really important to keep it objective as possible and also impartial. Sometimes it happens with educational settings or environments that relatives or yes, a family of, for example, a student might not be the right fit, let's say, for these purposes.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Okay, moving on with question 4. True or false? Zoom meetings with interpretation typically use simultaneous interpreting.
Yeah, well, so
Uh,
that's the mostly. I'm sorry, should I wait? I'm sorry, I
yes,
keep
no, yeah, yeah.
missing this.
Go ahead.
Okay, so usually the whole point of having these interpretations via Zoom is because they have the simultaneous interpreting function. Otherwise, for consecutive interpreting, for which you do not need simultaneous capabilities, then you can have the meeting through any other platform of the known ones that are not Zoom, because you don't need that specific function. Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, I hope the audience found those questions and answers useful. And now we're going to move into the most practical and exciting part of today's session, a quick live demo of Zoom's language channels. This is where we see how multilingual meetings actually come to life. And this is also something that we get lots of questions about when these events happen. So I'm super excited that we're doing this live event. And I am going to hand this over to our guests as they
Okay.
walk you through this part of the live event. Please take it away, Marti and Evangelina.
Thank you, Fred. Yes, absolutely. We'll be here with Eva to show you how to start a Zoom session with the Zoom settings and to schedule a typical Zoom meeting and enable the Zoom interpretation feature or language channels. So I leave Eva to describe that, what we'll show in a minute.
Okay. So Zoom is very intuitive in that sense. They adapt very quickly. So in order to arrive to this screen, the schedule meeting, you just go to the schedule icon on the front, and then this will pop up. You name the meeting usually. And you can add, like you can see, you can add any details like the student's name, if it is an IP or whatever the meeting is about. As you can see, this is pretty self-contained. The time, the date, the invitees.
Time zone, really
Usually
important here.
the time zone, yes, very important. Um, there you go. And then at the bottom, pretty much at the end, you have the interpretation section. You just click on enable interpretation. You add who the interpreters or the interpreter's email addresses and the language pair. Usually, just to stay on the safe side, if you have more than one interpreter per language pair, you would do one of them English Spanish in this case, and usually the second English Spanish interpreters will have the language pair Spanish English, like the opposite version, just in case.
That's correct. So you
And
have the meeting created.
you create the meeting, and you can copy the address and send the link, the access link, copy that invitation, and that's what you would send, because usually you won't have time to include all the guests that you're planning on, so you send them an email with the invitation in it.
True. Something that I would like to add, Eva, here is that it's super important for our audience to know that for Zoom capabilities for interpretation to be there and to be available for you
Oh,
to
true.
access to them, you need a premium account, right? It's not
Yes.
the basic one. So in most cases, the school has a Zoom master account, and you'll be able to manage through it. So
Mhm.
interpretation and the language channels will only be available if you have these, let's say, Zoom package and a special
The
account.
pro or business account here, absolutely right. Sorry about that. The basic Zoom app that most people have access to, the free one does not include the interpretation function. You have to have the pro or the business account in order to have access to it. Mhm. Definitely.
Correct. Thank you, Eva. Now
Mhm.
we'll move on to the interpreting interpreter, sorry, point of view. So many people would like to know, or sometimes our clients like to know, how the interpreter sees it when the interpretation invitation is received by the interpreter.
Okay. So you usually receive a link that says you have been invited to this meeting as an interpreter. Right after you are included as such, you receive an email that states the role from the get-go. So you access that link, and you will see this interface, right? Um,
Correct.
Usually, it says before enabling it, which is what Marta is going to do right now. Before enabling it, you will not see anything. But then when the host of the meeting actually enables the function, you will see, I'm not sure. Oh, it's not enabled yet. So um,
I think it's on the first part of the
the
video, and then you'll see my point of view as host in a sec,
right.
and that
As an
I promise that it
interpreter,
makes sense.
right,
Yeah.
as an interpreter, you will see the two channels, English and Spanish, and you will click depending on what's happening in the main room. If the everything in the main room it's happening in Spanish, then you have to go to the English button as an interpreter to provide the interpretation, and then the other way around. Mhm.
Correct. So, quick reminder, the three dots at the bottom of the Zoom interface, and then you hit interpretation. There will be a globe icon, and then you'll be faced with all the languages list. It may be 15 languages. So, if you're a native speaker for Spanish, you should click on the Spanish one, the Spanish channel. You'll encounter Eva, as in this case that we are testing and demonstrating at the moment. But the list might be long as well. And only the host or co-host can enable and can put, let's say, play on the interpretation feature. You'll see this in a third video that I'll be commenting on. So now I'm on the controls as a host, let's say I'm the host, I'll be the one with the control to name the interpreters that are already assigned. I can go on and assign someone on the spot. This is a common question from our audience and customers. So you are able to select someone. Let's say you have on the spot change of plans and you need a replacement. So you are able as a host to assign manually someone new and add it to the list. Also, you'll see, I think that the three dots and the interpretation globe icon is there to be enabled on or off. And most times before the events are finished, the host ends the feature. We are watching the video all over again, just in order to show you some more details. In that case, I just like the interpreters will be named as numbers, but of course they will be, that information will be filled in with your special or assigned interpreters beforehand. But if you face an on-the-spot situation, you can manually assign them as well. So that's pretty much it. It's pretty intuitive, I have to say, as as an interpreting manager myself for almost 5 years, that Zoom has improved itself since the pandemic and after the pandemic. The Zoom controls have improved, and
Yeah.
it's even more intuitive than before. We were talking about this with Eva a minute ago.
Yes.
That
It's
was a
pretty
great
neat. Yes.
That was an excellent demonstration, both of you. As someone who doesn't do this every day, though, we might have some people in the audience that might feel that, I don't know, it wasn't as intuitive as you say it is, because you're doing it every day, so you can probably
Totally.
you can do it in
Yeah.
your sleep, and Evangelina the same way. And we want to make sure that the audience knows that they can get this video that they just saw. They can connect with Evangelina, they can connect with Martin and ask questions. So
Absolutely.
this is something that, we don't have just this short window of time for you to learn this, and it probably might take a couple of iterations for you to get the hang of it. But we encourage you to connect with Keylingo, connect with Marti, connect with Evangelina if you have additional questions. We are going to segue. Thank you guys once again for that demonstration.
Sure.
But we're going to switch now to getting the interpreter's perspective and some real case lessons. So, Evangelina, let me
Yes.
start with a broad question. We
Okay.
know interpretation touches so many areas of life. From your experience, which industries is interpretation most in demand right now?
Hmm. Like, I'm not sure if I could say which is the most in demand, but I think the important thing, I would say, is the sustained demand. Like
Mm,
people who chose Zoom and decided to stay over Zoom. Um, any official meeting that actually requires like mandatory interpretation, like anything that has to do with the United Nations, and they decide to have a meeting over Zoom. Some of the networks, some human rights networks, that they have people and branches all over the world. Usually they have their meetings over Zoom.
mhm.
um, the Of course, over the phone interpretation for in hospital patients that are not bilingual. That is, Marty knows about that very well.
Totally.
That is those people who have chose to migrate to Zoom and decided to stay are mostly, the companies that they have like their town hall meetings every
Mhm.
month, and so they can have everyone in the same meeting. They decided to stay. And definitely education, parent teacher conferences, like
Okay.
staff conferences. They started using that in the pandemic, and they never left.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for that answer. And the pandemic, I think, was a turning point for a lot of industries. Definitely, I think Zoom became a household word during the
Absolutely.
pandemic. And I have just a personal question based on something that I saw in the newspaper yesterday. So this is super, super fresh. I don't know if you saw it, but
Uh,
yesterday, Apple launched its latest version of their earpods.
ah,
And one of the features is live interpretation. Now,
mm,
I don't have the latest version. I would
Me
guess
neither.
you guys probably don't either, but when I read
No.
that, I was like, "Wow, that's pretty amazing." What do you think about that? And do you think it has any applications in the professional interpreting world?
Well, I do receive those emails. They I get forwarded those links and stuff because you know what AI has done with it with translation
Yeah,
already. So we do know that eventually it's going to get to a point in which it's going to be good enough. Hopefully, it'll take forever for that to happen, or at least until I retire. Hopefully, I
yeah,
don't know, but
Sure.
the what we do have studies. I do know that Meet already has a beta app for simultaneous interpreting,
hmm
and the studies that I have received and the comments from people that actually were in they were actually in meetings where they were using AI for interpreting, and luckily they tell us horror stories about that.
yeah,
It's not working. It's not
yeah,
working yet. I know
yeah,
it's a yet so far,
yeah,
but it's really not working.
yeah.
It just mhm.
I appreciate your honesty. I think that we all know that the technology is just going to get better and better over time.
Mhm.
But I think there are a couple of things, and I'll just ask you as a professional your thoughts on this. But when you think about use cases like healthcare or
Mhm.
legal, for example, you
Mhm.
could imagine that the risk of failure or mistakes is pretty high. Let's say, like if you're interpreting a court case or a deposition or an interaction between a doctor and a patient, even in education. But in those first two, legal and in healthcare, my sense is that the risk of failure is pretty high. And so the technology would really need to demonstrate that the the errors are almost non-existent. What are your thoughts on that, Evangelina?
Well, it's yeah, I do I agree with you that it's going to evolve to a point in which, it's going to be as good. And that is when we are going to have to reinvent ourselves in some way. Um, but I do agree also that the more technical the field, the toughest it's going to continue to be for AI to do this simultaneous function precisely, at least for now. Like,
Yeah.
especially when acronyms, how we use lots of
Mhm.
acronyms for medical care, for healthcare in general. And there's a tendency to create acronyms that resonate with real world words, right?
Right. Mhm.
So that is a mayhem for AI. That is
Yeah.
crazy because there's no way they can identify that. And also intonation, how you express a message through intonation, it's
Sure.
still like a very blank spot there. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I hope it takes for a long time to get there. I really do.
Yeah.
But so for now, it's that's the this current scenario of
Yeah.
simultaneous. I don't know about the iPhone. I have no idea, but I hope it is just as average as everything else for now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's
Yeah,
the
I
truth.
think as as people in the industry, and you've been an interpreter for, I think, for 20 plus years, and
Mhm.
I've been in the industry for 20 plus years, and we've had lots of technologies enter our environment, and it always seems as if customers continue to need our service. The needs evolve, they change over time. But I think even in an AI world, let's say, you're still going to need experts in the process somewhere, either to set it up or
Right.
to jump in when something happens. Or so I do think that there's a future for you, Evangelina, even
Thank
if you
you.
want to work until a ripe old age. So
Thank you so much.
it's a long time from now, for sure.
Yes,
Let's
I
see.
agree.
I'd like to shed some light on something with you, Evangelina, that I think a lot of people that are not in our industry that may have a curiosity about. And if you were to um, just imagine a situation where a company or an institution like a hospital or a school or a university, if they have bilingual staff there, and they need an interpretation, why wouldn't they just use those people? What do you see as risks or even conflicts of interest that could potentially come up if we use bilingual staff as taking the role of the professional interpreter? What are your thoughts on that?
I have my thoughts, and I've had my experiences with that. I many times, more than once at least, um, you would quote like an assignment, and they would go like, "Oh, I have my niece, and this is a true story. I promise. I have my niece. She's very good. She's been studying for a long time, so I think I'm gonna go with her, and I'm gonna give her an opportunity to try a new trade." And I was like, okay, sure, no problem. And the following day, like after the day the event started on a Monday, and on the Tuesday, I got a phone call from the same person saying, "This is not what she imagined." And she's really not capable of doing this, because
Mm,
it takes a lot more than just knowing languages very well. And I'm not saying that untrained bilingual people cannot do this. There are success cases of untrained interpreters that are very good, but there are things like note taking for consecutive interpreting, the clues for taking notes and how to make your notes more efficient. There are issues like confidentiality and sensitive information. There are those things that maybe hospital staff are very aware of HIPAA, for example, so they will be could probably be okay when it comes to that sensitivity or those conflicts of interest, but sometimes that can work very well for untrained professionals, but in my experience it never did,
yeah,
because there are things that we prepare for that you do not know until you're until the time comes.
yeah.
um yes.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that answer, and your
Mhm.
honesty is refreshing. I think in the rare instance you might see something maybe partially work, but there's a
Mhm.
reason why interpreters train for years to
Yes.
do what they do, and just
Yes.
because somebody is bilingual doesn't mean that they can just step into that role with very little notice or any training at all. Um,
Absolutely.
just so you guys know, we've been talking now for almost 37 minutes, and we usually go for 45 or so. But I've got another question. And
Okay.
before we let our audience go, and this one is directed to you, Marti. So here you go. I'd really
Sure.
like to bring you into this conversation. So, from an interpreting management perspective, what are the key elements schools and organizations should consider to ensure a high quality interpretation? And that's part
Oh,
one. And
Okay.
could you share a bit about Keylingo's DELIS framework and how it guides this process? And I'll let you talk more deeply about what DELIS is. So, two-part question. Go for it.
Okay, this is a very interesting one. Of course, I'm really enjoying this conversation. We had lots and lots of anecdotes and experiences shared with Eva, and we have lots of cases that we can like follow this conversation on and on. But going back to your question, Fred, first one is that sometimes clients or people that first approach Keylingo services, they are not sure whether it's a translator that they are looking for or an interpreter. The main difference here, and I want to draw a line between them, is that we call translators people that renders messages in the written format, whereas interpreters are the ones that do this. They carry out meaning, or their job is to address and then to render some meaning out of in the oral communication, right?
Mhm.
Format. So that's the first difference that I try to approach when clients like request something, like whether it's a translator or an interpreter. I try to find out whether it's an event or a live session or an in-person gathering, like over the phone interpretation.
Yeah.
So basically, that's the first one, and that's vital, because if
Yeah.
they say translator and I take it for granted, I will send them to my colleagues, and I'll expect some, draft documents and materials. So
Yeah.
basically, that
It's not uncommon that people that are not
at all.
involved in our industry day to day, they use the word translation to mean both things. And
Exactly.
so it
So
is very
that's
important,
vital.
yeah, to help them understand.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I really wanted to I couldn't wait for this time to approach that first difference, and then it's super important for clients to have in mind the dailies reminder, or it's kind of a memory reminder that I share with them. Sometimes most of them are super educated, and we have been sharing a long relationship for 5 years now, and they send me the bullet points that I need for them to fill in, for me to approach the session, and to better quote and to have a clear idea. So dailies is all about date and time, duration of the session, equipment if we are talking about on-site projects or sessions, if they need certified interpreters. This is really important for the legal environments or clients. Location, once again, location might be for on-site. We're talking about an exact address, or location can be found, for example, on the platforms, right? Zoom, Teams, Google Meet. So L stands for location plus language pairs, vital as well. Sometimes they just forget, and I'm like, okay, this is important. What's the language you are needing at the moment? I stands for the interpreting mode. Some clients has this like preference for Zoom, and they're like, we want just a simultaneous interpretation, so that it doesn't take so much time. Consecutive, on the other hand, will take longer because of the turn taking, the pauses, conveying an idea, and then restarting. So I stands for that, two modes only. And then the subject matter, right? It's super important for me to then inform the interpreters about what it's been, the situation, the parties involved, what's the matter on the situation. And there's a lot of backgrounds. I was thinking about the psychological one, that it's super delicate and confidential. So that's pretty much it, and it's super easy to remember. I hope the audience takes advantage of this. Of course, I always, as an interpreter manager myself, I always try to remind this. And my customers, our customers are great. They just like send all the details, but sometimes they might forget, of course.
Yeah. Marti, can you give us a couple of examples of the S in your acronym? What are some subject matters that you often encounter?
We have, you know, the broad ones: legal, educational, medical, healthcare, engineering, manufacturing, for example.
Okay.
Those are broad. You know, I'm talking about fields there, or industries.
Mhm.
But then subject matter can be IEPs, as Eva mentioned. Maybe it's a parent-teacher conference, or maybe a town hall. Sometimes we have, I don't know, like employees meetings. We have
Mhm.
social events as well, webinars, a training. So there, what I love the most about this job and this area is that super fruitful, and it never gets kind of, you know, like boring, because you cannot like kind of determine it, because it's always ever changing. And that's one aspect that I really love about my daily job.
Amazing. Well, this acronym that, by the way, did you create this or did you find it somewhere online or what? Did you adapt it?
Actually,
Or you?
I think the team and I, it was an idea because of my bullet points reminder, and I was like this, you know, like date, time, and duration,
Yeah.
and in a long list, and then we were like, oh my gosh, we need to find a way for them to remember better, and also for me to have it like all covered at once. Sometimes we don't have the time to go over so many emails exchange, you know, the back and
Yeah.
forth and all that it takes. So sometimes I try, I mean, most times I try to be proactive and just set it away. And it's a really nice memory technique, right?
It really is. It really is. Well, team, this was very, very interesting for me. I hope it was for our audience. And I think between Evangelina's real world experience and Martina's framework, you now have both of a kind of an on the ground and a management perspective for running multilingual Zoom sessions smoothly. And I really want to thank everyone who joined us today. If you have another minute, you can share your favorite insight in the comments. I encourage you to connect with Keylingo, connect with Marti, connect with Evangelina, and we're here to help you if you ever need support with interpretation. And there you go. There's your QR code. But thank you all once again so much for your time today. We'll let you get back and enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time on another Keylingo Trend Talks. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.